If your organization is ready to embrace edge computing, we have good news. The 2023 AT&T Cybersecurity Insights report provides everything you need to know to get started. In the report, we identify the common characteristics of edge computing. We found edge use cases are rapidly coming online, and we reveal how to secure edge computing, which is a dynamic, nonlinear, and unconventional approach to computing. Most importantly, you'll learn how to prepare for your edge ecosystem. Get your complimentary copy of the report today. Visit securityweekly.com/ATT cybersecurity. That's securityweekly.com/ATT cybersecurity. Welcome back to Enterprise Security Weekly. Join us at an upcoming official cybersecurity summit in a city near you. This series of one-day, invitation-only, executive-level conferences are designed to educate senior cyber professionals on the latest threat landscape. We're pleased to offer our listeners $100 off admission when you use code SECWEEK23 to register. Visit securityweekly.com/cybersecurity summit to learn more and register today. All right, and now for the Enterprise Security Weekly news, we have Mr. Tyler Shields joining us. How are you doing, Tyler?
Hey, Adrian. Pleasure to see you, as always.
Yeah, we miss you when you're not here. Same with Sean. You and Sean have been in and out a little bit, having fun with stuff.
Yeah,
vacations, summertime.
Exactly. Spend a little time with family.
Nice. Yeah, check out securityweekly.com/ESW325 if you want to follow along with us and click all the links we'll be clicking as we discuss the stories today. And there's some interesting financial stuff going on. There was a couple weeks ago, we kind of wish you were here. There was I forget exactly what it was, but there's a situation we could have used Tyler to clarify on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But that was then. This is now. Does anybody remember Netcraft? And is surprised to see them pivoting into the security space with $100 million investment?
Yeah, I thought they were the ones that tracked the versions of web servers that were on the internet.
They did, and they still do. But the website looks completely different. And now they're doing cybercrime detection and takedowns and threat intelligence. It's very interesting.
Not to be confused with Minecraft.
Yeah, Netcraft. Well, I think there's another company with a similar name out there, but yeah, I mean, for the longest time they had that ancient looking website, right? Like it looked like it was built in the 90s and they never really updated it. So it was, I remember when this popped up on my radar, I was like, different Netcraft, or is that the same Netcraft we're talking about? But yeah, it's the same one.
Also different than Warcraft.
Very different than Warcraft. The weapons are much smaller. The shields are much smaller.
My liege.
Founded back in 1995?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
That's insane.
I remember when they would point out that IIS servers were vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of those early organizations that just kind of like told us how big the internet was and told us what was going on with it, and like people would use Netcraft to track. IIS is declining in popularity. Apache's going up, and then Nginx came in. So like everybody, all the journalists and tech journalists would, quote Netcraft's numbers on all those different trends as different technologies came and went. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that they could pretty easily pivot into cybersecurity, with those skills.
Yeah, they claim that they have become the world's largest provider of takedowns, which are delivered as a subscription service to financial services, governments, and corporations.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So getting into like Area 1 would do that. I think Risk IQ would do some of that. You have these like digital reputation services that would help you do takedowns of companies looking to defraud, phish your users, whatever, So OneTrust raised 150 million. They were one of the first to show up on the layoffs tracking that we did last year. If you guys remember that, they laid off almost 1,000 people. I think it was 950. So they looked like they came out of it looking pretty good, I guess. I guess it would be better if they didn't have to raise any money, but yeah, the fact that they can raise 150.
The fact that they can raise it all is pretty impressive. And
Right.
My understanding of this particular one is they're only down maybe, I think it was this one, they're only down maybe 15-20% off their high from a valuation standpoint too, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, considering the market. But the valuation is 4.5 billion, but they've raised over $1 billion to date.
Oof.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So how is
But,
that
yeah.
ratio? Is that good or bad? Raising $1 billion with a valuation of 4.5? What does that look like to you?
Well, not necessarily all billions in play, right, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, they burned, right? I don't have the metrics and numbers in front of me to even kind of back into anything with back of the napkin math here, but raising $1 billion means if their most recent round was 150, they've gone through what, 850 of capital since they were founded, right? And the question is, OneTrust was not founded in 1995 like Netcraft, right? So
Right.
there's a certain level of burn rate, and they obviously haven't been all that efficient with capital allocation and usage. So, when you're at a 4x valuation on invested capital, it's not a massive return for anybody that's remaining from an equity perspective, right? Usually you want significantly more, 100 in and $1 billion out or more. So.
But what I mean is, some of that capital could have been used to pay off other investors. So I was saying they don't necessarily have 1.1 billion, of fingers in the pot currently, right?
Yeah, it's tough to tell because these announcements intentionally intermingle primary and secondary offerings, which they don't make it abundantly clear to know exactly what capital is coming in from whom and where it's going, and that's intentionally somewhat hidden and obfuscated. So you never really know how much of this was to buy out secondary, how much of it was to buy out ownership of founders, or just straight reallocated capital or directly allocated capital with dilution. It's just tough to know.
Look at I'm just looking at Crunchbase, and man, this was fast and furious. July 2019, Series A, 200 million. Less than a year later, February 2020, 210 million. Later that year, 10 months later, December, 300 million from, I think that one was from, TCV. And then 5 months after that, another 210 million from SoftBank's Vision Fund. We all know how successful the SoftBank Vision Fund was. Wow. Like that's less than 2 years. They raised 400, 600, 900 million, $920 million in less than 24 months.
So even with the market as it was back then, that seems to me, and again, this is more Tyler's bailiwick than mine, but that seems like reckless raising to me. It seems like there was just too much aggression in terms of where they thought they were going to be, that it was almost inevitable that they'd have to lay people off, or that they're probably not spending. Of course, back then, a lot of people didn't spend as conservatively as they have to now, but it just seems like they anticipated being able to do whatever they wanted and didn't even think of a plan B. It's sort of like security. You got to have a backup continuity plan, but it seems like they just probably were betting on the fact that they'd raise a ton of money, grow super quickly, somebody would buy them, and they'd be gazillionaires.
Yeah, it's interesting because according to some quick Google foo, their 2020 revenue was 134.7 million in 2020. So 3 years later, we can presume reasonable growth. You know, they're at a decent revenue number that would, dictate valuations that they should be getting, and I'd be willing to bet chunks of that 900 million in that run there had to be some secondary takeout, had to be some non-dilutive buying out previous owners or previous investors or founder equity. It's just tough to know. It's just all merged.
Yeah.
Well, that revenue growth, yeah, great, but in comparison to the debt that they took on, it seems pretty imbalanced.
I don't think any of this is pure debt, though. I think this is all venture. So there's no debt, there's no payback. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, look, if this was $1 billion of venture over 3.5 years, that's a lot of money in, for sure. That's a lot of money in. And you just don't need to take $1 billion in to build a software company anymore. You just don't need it. I don't remember what Wiz took in, but you don't need billions to build a software company, at least not if you're going to build it efficiently. If you just want to shoot for the moon and grab all the market that you can as rapidly and as fast as possible, sure, take the billion, burn hard, and succeed at any cost, right? You're either going to go to the moon or you're going to go to zero. But it's like I said, it's tough to know how much of this was actually operating capital, how much of it was secondary buyout, how much of it was dilutive, and so you just. I think, yes, they probably didn't need it all. The end of the story is they didn't need it all. It was just opportunistic.
Right. All right. Yeah, number 4 looked really interesting to me. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. It looks like a Terraform type thing, but the headline here is Wing Cloud is building an open source unified cloud programming language. So the idea is you can just abstract how you're building stuff in the cloud. Let's see. The Winglang compiler produces a ready-to-deploy package that includes both infrastructure as code definitions for Terraform, CloudFormation, or other cloud provisioning engines. So I guess it's like a meta language for all the stuff that you use to deploy infrastructure. So you can. I thought Terraform was already that. I don't know.
They mentioned Terraform. Yeah, they say the Winglang compiler produces a ready-to-deploy package that includes both infrastructure as code definitions for Terraform, CloudFormation, or other cloud provisioning engines, as well as Node.js code designed to run on compute platforms such as AWS Lambda, Kubernetes, or Edge platforms.
So they're generating code for Terraform, though. So they're a level up above that, I guess. But
they want to connect everything.
It's pretty fascinating. I mean, you can go to they've got one website for the company, another website for the language. So you can go to winlang.io, and they have some examples there. It's a well put together website. So it's kind of fascinating to see. It's almost a little scary how easy they're making it to deploy infrastructure in any cloud, all clouds, all at once.
Something else I want to bring up on this one too. There's a $20 million announcement here, but it's actually, and this is typical marketing trickery, a $15 million seed that closed Q3 of last year, almost a year ago, 3 quarters ago, plus a $5 million extension that was closed this past April. So just, there's always that little bit of marketing trickery that you can kind of wrap around some of these. This is really almost a year-old raise.
Yeah, and they're talking about it as if it's one raise, and it's just seed. So that's a lot of money for just seed.
It is a big, healthy seed, and I'm not sure that it's needed here again as well. And time will tell. But their argument is they're trying to build a massive community, with significant adoption. And to build a community does take more capital than a traditional capital efficient business. So, well, they're right. The question is, can they put it to work efficiently and return value?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting stuff. And we've got another one here. Number 5 is clearly a down round, but they're doing everything they can to not call it a down round. So interesting to see how some of these, like I don't think I've seen a raise with a letter on it this year. or maybe for brand new companies, but not for companies who raised in the past, right? Like I've seen a lot of Series A, I've seen a lot of seed, but I don't recall many like B's, C's, or D's or anything like that. Everything is just venture round, because they don't want you to look at it and say, oh, this is like a quarter of what you raised 2 years ago.
Yeah, and nobody wants to say it's an extension round, right? Or they bury it at the bottom of the article like the last one did, that this is technically a $5 million extension round on a raise we did last fall.
Yeah.
Why, though? Why? I mean, I understand trying to make your story the best it can be, but if you think about it for half a second, and it's included in here probably because the lawyers are like, whoa, you can't just outright not tell the truth. But if you think about it for half a second, anybody can figure this out. Like, this is not, the last one was not a seed round. It was really a Series C or B or whichever it was, right? They just called it something different. So does it really make that big of a difference when it comes down to market position, growth, potential clients?
Marketing, Katie. Half of what we do has no logic behind it. It's just it's just what you do. It's just
most actual security buyers, if they're at all technical, think what we do is complete bullshit anyway, so it's all right. But honestly, does it make that much of a difference when it comes to companies who end up with a lot of customers, successful businesses, good products?
I think there's something to be said for basic perception of people and buyers who don't understand investing in investment markets and rounds. And there's a certain, I would say the vast majority don't know the difference between any of these round numbers, don't really know truly what they mean. And so you can mask it, and you can mask the fact that this was an extension on the previous round, an A extension or something. And, they don't think about, oh, you just took another round in. They don't understand the difference. And so I think it's one of those situations where why call out a potential issue if you can bury it and not have people think about it? And anybody who's smart enough to figure it out anyways already knows why you're doing it, so they're not really going to question it. And so, bury it for the masses. That's the kind of scenario here.
I just don't understand why it would be an issue. I mean, I guess that's the real crux of it, is why would it be so bad to say, hey, we raised $100 million last round. This round we only raised $20 million. We didn't need that $100 million. We didn't need $200 million. Why
because you're smart enough to understand some of those nuances, where I think the majority of cybersecurity buyers don't care, right? That's not where they live. That's not where they tend to think. So they just go, whoa, why'd you raise only 20 this time? That's a bad sign. Is your company okay? And even if it's like 1% of the audience that says that, why not bury it? Why not hide it? Right? There's no downside to hiding it. There's only upside.
I guess. I guess the only downside would be. Yeah, the only downside would be people thinking your PR team is sneaky. Yes.
Which we all think that anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. So, I didn't say the name, but that was Adaptive Shield, who's one of the primary competitors with the company I work for, Valence. So it's good to see investment in the space. There are a ton of new people still coming into that space. So, really helps to show that it's an important market segment, or at least investors think so, right? But yeah, a lot going on in SaaS security these days. Some other interesting ones here. We are well and truly seeing the AI startups start to pop out of stealth with healthy seeds and tackling all kinds of different things because they don't know exactly what to go after. So a lot of these are kind of boil the ocean. Like Cranium AI here, I think they had something like 4.5 million. I didn't get the number in there, but they give you an AI maturity score, based on your AI security posture. So that's interesting. And then there's
hold on, what's an AI security posture?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Am I the only one going, what?
That is, well, I mean, so there's like a LLM AI top 10 OWASP now. So now that and there's other standards out there as well. So now that there's standards that say, here are the best practices, here's what you need to do from a security standpoint to secure your use of AI, we can now give you a score on it, right? We can scan your stuff, detect what you are doing, not doing. Maybe they're actively testing to see, how easy it is to get around your controls on, what you can get I don't even know if this is LLM. I haven't dived in far enough to see if, they're just testing people's, machine learning models or if it's LLM related. I don't even know at this point. But
yeah, if you go to their website, it does say, they're looking at the infrastructure underneath. They're looking at the model itself. Visualize and map your AI pipelines. So it's kind of layering a pipeline framework on top of it, right? Between your training data, your trained model, and then your input and output into the inference process. I don't understand it. I definitely do not claim to understand it, but there's some interesting architecture here that'd be worth diving into.
And it's interesting they have a compliance story around it. So there's already a NIST AI RMF and EU AI Act.
That seems a little bit premature.
It does, but I've got some reading to do because I'm not really familiar with either of those. So yeah, interesting. Maybe too early, to hit this market, but they're getting funded.
Yeah, they're getting funded for sure. I met with an investor earlier this week, and he said he's chasing down anything AI related right now, anything AI, specifically AI cyber related. And if I know of any interesting AI cybersecurity companies, to let him know. And so these guys are chasing it down. It's active. It's a hot spot. And we know what happens when things get overheated in a particular spot, right? You run a big risk of being the bag holder, left holding that bag of all that late money investment, and things come crashing down around you. And version 2.0, the next wave, is the one that actually has the best riding surf to it. So
exactly. Yeah. All right, and let's see. Yeah, I thought number 7 was interesting. Is that a normal number of CISOs to be personally investing in like a seed round, something like that?
It is when you have Silicon Valley CISO Investments Group leading the angel round, which is a group of 60 CISOs, Silicon Valley CISOs, that formed an angel investment syndicate and do deals together as a syndicated group. 60 in the group-ish, 30 of them invest, 50% investment. That's not surprising. So really, it's just Silicon Valley CISO Investment Syndicate that invested.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it advertised like that, like with them actually throwing out the number of early stage investors, like personal individual investors.
Yeah, I read through this, through the press release in detail, and I like GEM. I like GEM Security a lot, actually. But what's interesting is, if you'll notice, they have 3 quotes in the press release. One quote is the co-founder and CEO at GEM Security. The other 2 quotes are former CTO at Atlassian and former CISO at Twilio. So there's no current active CISOs quoted in this particular press release as having invested. And, when you think about the why behind that, as the CISO of a Silicon Valley company or the CTO of a Silicon Valley company, CISO specifically, there's all sorts of potential conflict of interest that get layered in there, right? And so I promise you, the vast majority of them just kept their head below water and said, that's why we invest through that investment group. They make the investments. Maybe we come in as an individual angel. I'm not sure how they run their investments, but yeah, only formers are quoted in the article. So that's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
And actually, that's not true. I did lie a little bit at the current head of security and IT at Postman is referenced in that article. So there is one more in there.
Not a CISO, though.
Nope, head
Close.
of security.
Yeah, close to
they
CISO.
do make mention of CISOs at security executives from McDonald's, Snowflake, Twilio, Atlassian, Ross stores have all chosen to make personal investments in GEM. It's really hard to balance, and I run into this too. I run into it all the time from investments standpoint. It's really hard to balance the ethics side of making an angel investment when you're the decision maker on what security tools you put into your environment. It's hard, right? Because obviously you're naturally incented to go buy those tools you invested in. But I'm sure most of them, if not all of them, make smart decisions and defer if they're invested in a certain thing, defer that to someone else to make a call. But yeah, it's tough to balance for sure.
Yeah. And then not really a fan of the marketing language, the press release here for Cyclops. There's a lot of nonsense in there, but looks like an interesting tool. Looks like they're maybe competing with the Lima Charlies and the Chronicles, Google Chronicles out there. They call it an AI-powered cybersecurity search platform, but it sounds like a SIM,
No, I have a little insight here because one of the co-founders is a former exec from my company. Okay. This is sort of bridging the cybersecurity asset management tools market. That's really what it's aiming to do, but its marketing message is very much geared towards what's cooler and hotter than cybersecurity asset management or CASM. The whole AI-powered thing, based on what I know so far, and this former executive is a great person, so this is no smash on this person, but the whole AI-powered thing is just using LLM, AI to power queries. That's all it is. So it's not an AI tool in any way. Right. The CSMA, okay, you could argue that it's CSMA. But really, when you dig into it, it's cybersecurity asset management or CASM.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I that was the first I had heard CSMA, so that's new to me. And I thought the statement CSMA is similar to Zero Trust, but more mature and advanced. Yeah.
So if you look it up in the new Gartner hype cycle. It is newer than cybersecurity asset management. It is newer than CASM. So it's
more hypey. It has extra hype.
It's newer. It's cooler. Not a bazillion companies are doing it yet. So got to be first and best to the market. The two words that most analysts hate. But yeah, when you look into the tool, it's very similar to my company, Tyler's former company, and about 20 other companies that are currently vying for a position in that market.
All right. Good insight. Thank you for that, because I was unable to beat through the the terminologies they were using. So yeah, new acronym. Yeah, we should have some kind of on-screen graphic every time we have a new.
The hype cycle was just released. The hype cycle was just released. So you can see it all the way on the left. All the way on the left. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know that if they say it's similar to Zero Trust, that's where you lost me. I was done.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, we need like a hype graphic or something like that. Maybe it's something we can work on. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So PingSafe is an Indian CNAP. Nothing really notable there, except that it's always interesting to see cybersecurity startups that are not U.S. based or not Israeli based. And let me make sure I'm correct there, that it is headquartered.
It was a tiny little seed fund round of 3.3 million.
Yeah. It's financial. The money you need is going to be different. If everybody you're employing is in India, right? It depends on where your teams are. Like I've seen U.S. companies where, the whole tech team is in Pakistan or something like that, and you're like, how are they building all this with that amount of money raised? And there you go. All right, let's see.
Next one's important.
The acquisition. You wanna talk about that one? You pretty familiar with that one?
I'm more than happy to talk about it. It's I hate saying the word Thales, however you pronounce the company.
I thought it was Thales.
Thales. So I got it wrong regardless. All of the above are wrong. Enters the app security market with a 3.6 billion with a B acquisition of Imperva. Take private. Right, take private acquisition. I think it was a take private, right? Imperva was publicly traded prior.
No. So Thoma Bravo took them private for 2.1 billion, and so they're buying them from Thoma Bravo,
and then sold it off. Right, sold it off afterwards. So, now that's interesting to me. Took them private.
No, it says they're buying it directly from Thoma Bravo.
Yeah, Thoma Bravo sold off the ownership stake to Thales, whatever they are. But what's interesting is think of the numbers. Thoma Bravo bought them for 2.1 billion in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
And then sold them for 3.6.
I got confused there.
Sold them off for 3.6 in 2023. So 4 years return of $1.5 billion in profit in 4 years. Not a bad little turnaround. I imagine they just missed the window of 2022 where they probably could have got 5 or more.
Mm-hmm.
The other interesting thing here is, what do they call it? NFOC, news from other countries. There's a French aerospace and defense group that bought this. So this is actually now going to be owned by a French company that will now own Imperva going forward. Not that it makes any difference to the people that still buy Imperva and like Imperva and use Imperva, but it's another outside of the United States cybersecurity company that's not necessarily located in Israel.
Right. Yeah, definitely more of a trend. We've been seeing that for a solid year and a half now, where other countries are popping up more and more with some leadership in security from the vendor side.
Yeah. So that's the NFOC, the news from other countries.
So story number 11 kind of tickled me. The headline particularly, that half of breached organizations are unwilling to increase security spend despite soaring breach costs. And my first thought was like, it's almost as if you can't spend your way out of this problem. Like, what a crazy idea that is, right?
Go figure.
I can't just get more budget, spend more budget, and fix the security problem.
Buy more tools. Just buy more tools. It'll be fine. Buy more tools.
I mean, this is a good realization, but you actually have to do the fixing. You can't just stubbornly refuse to spend more money, say, I'm not doing it, it's not working. Yeah. But I haven't really dug any deeper into that. I just got kind of triggered by the title and included it there. But yeah, I just think it's a bad take, right? That more losses should equal more spending and more budget, right? Like we should all realize at this point that it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean, when the cost of a breach is about $4.5 million, they're already spending quite a bit of money in the breach. So what money are they going to have in the immediate 12 months after that for something that they had to spend that they weren't expecting anyway? And then
Right.
how many of these companies post-breach actually do any kind of hardening or any kind of review of what else is there? I mean, the breach itself is because of a specific thing the attacker discovered, was able to run through that door. And so then they close and lock that door, but are they checking the other doors and windows?
That's
My biggest
exactly
question is what would you spend it on that would have enough positive impact anyways? Like, seriously, somebody help me answer that question outside of the 4 people that are on this podcast right now. I'd love the audience's participation. Sure, you might be able to get a specific people, process, or tool to solve the specific breach problem that occurred. But where would you spend an additional 30, 40, 50% budget in the event of a breach? Where would you spend it where it has any modicum of efficacy to improve your security stance anyways?
CSMA, clearly.
Clearly,
AI-powered CSMA, obviously. That was not nice. No, but seriously,
I'm going to coin the term. I'm going to coin the
major
term breach
breaches.
avoidance technology, or BAT, and I'm just going to make that a thing now.
Breach
We're going to have a
avoidance
tool
technology.
that's called breach avoidance technology, called BAT, and it's going to be a thing, and it will be the thing that prevents the breach from happening. So there it is.
And it'll be a big physical baseball bat.
Yes, exactly. I have one right here, actually.
Technology break here. Go ahead, Katie. We interrupted.
I have one right
Sean
here. Here's the bat.
live demo.
Okay?
Live
I have the
demo.
bat right here, and this will protect from breaches.
Sean invents the technology. He joins the angel investor group, and we never see him again.
There's your thumbnail, guys. There's your thumbnail.
No, my
from
comment
YouTube.
was just
Sean wielding a bat.
My comment was just going to be, if you look at all of the major breaches that happen, it's almost always a process. Not the lack of technology, not the lack of a tool. It's almost always a process.
Yeah.
It's the security hygiene. It's the security fundamentals. And I feel like a broken record, but it's not because Company X didn't have a tool like a vast majority of the time. It's because something was missed. I'm not saying that the fundamentals are easy. That's not what I mean.
Right.
But getting more tooling isn't going to solve that. Just like Sean said, if you leave a door open and you just close that door, well, okay, I'm going to come in the window.
It's the fact that those 77 security tools they own are all misconfigured, and none of them are working correctly. They haven't been validated to be working correctly. They don't need half of them. There's overlap between them. Yeah. All right, shall we move on? Let's see. Death of InfoSec Twitter was pretty interesting. So, I mean, it's not a broad analysis. They specifically, so Jay Jacobs specifically used CVEs, discussion about CVEs, which this is very relevant because I worked for a company where we prioritized vulnerabilities for people, and our machine learning model, was partially using Twitter as input on how important a CVE might be to the community, which was a signal that this is potentially either two things: either very overhyped and there's some kind of marketing campaign around the vulnerability, or it's legitimately worrying a bunch of people. So there's a lot of discussion on it. So if that discussion isn't going on Twitter anymore, and you can't get that data now without paying a ton of money, like this is actually impacting products. Like products are going to have to be redesigned. They're not going to be able to use Twitter for threat intel anymore, right? Or for vulnerability intelligence.
Journalists were complaining a few months ago about this same issue.
There isn't.
Yeah, not for security, but in terms of data and trends, social trends, patterns. They were saying, this is going to drastically change how we can understand how society works if we don't have access to this data. So hopefully a new, better platform will arise that can be used in a similar fashion. But this is a huge hit to journalist crowd as well.
So I struggle with this one. Yes, the publicly debated, communicated, discussed CVE data on Twitter is massively trended downward, right, since the new CEO was appointed or whatever. Sure, okay, one data source, but I cannot imagine that that's where the bulk of the early warning detection system of new issues, CVEs, that can't be where the meat of the discussion took place. It just can't be. There has to be back channel comms patterns. There has to be invite-only groups. There has to be all sorts of other subsystems that exist for those communications.
Sure, but this one was public and accessible.
Yeah, but my point is it's public and accessible.
We don't have access to those.
And probably was garbage to begin with, comparatively speaking to something that may be more high fidelity. Take, for example, my brother. My brother works in vulnerability detection in one of the big fangy companies, and he's invited to all these different private groups and private communications groups, and he's always going to different super spook invite only meeting events, blah blah blah. That's where the bulk of that meat really occurs. And I think any cybersecurity company that's CVE derived, connected, or reports or analyzes, sure, this is one source of data that is now poofed for them. But I think it's one noisy, semi-useless, maybe only useful in validating existence of other communication patterns compared to some of the other communication mechanisms.
Tyler, I really wish you would be more candid and honest with your opinions on this show, especially around the.
I just tell like I see.
Stop holding back.
Well, think about it. This is Twitter. Twitter's so full of garbage, and it has been so full of garbage forever, that I can't imagine the CVE data that was there in the first place had significant value outside of other channels anyways.
I agree. I think it's a data point among many. I think it's unfortunate that it's a data point that gets lost. But I mean, there's things like gray noise that actually track real CVE activity on the internet.
Yeah.
Where you can see what's happening, the sort of impact around certain types of CVEs and vulnerabilities that are network-based.
Very specific types, though, right?
Right. Exactly.
Gray noise is all network and internet. So there's a big chunk of stuff you're not going to see with that data. Yeah. This was. Yeah, so for our prioritization, I can't talk specifically about how much this was weighted and how many other things were in there, but yeah, all the regular suspects are in there. If somebody makes a Metasploit module for something, then that's interesting. Exploit DB was just about completely useless until they cleaned it up, and it's actually now fairly useful now that they went through and they cleaned it up, and that's a good sign also if you see exploits for a CVE in Exploit DB. So yeah, there are other sources, but Twitter was always kind of unique when it came to security, and I haven't seen any of the other networks pick that up. Like it used to be a really useful place to go. Ask a question, get a wide variety of answers, and to research different things. And I haven't seen it popped up anywhere. I think anywhere else, like a little bit popped up on Mastodon, a little bit popped up in Threads, but not at the same volume, not with all the same people. I think a lot of people just didn't replace it with anything. They're just not using anything for that anymore. Or maybe they're spending more time in Discords and Slacks. I don't know. I
agree with you 110%, Adrian. I feel like it's definitely the loss of communication pattern that is useful for sure. But, IRC died. I can probably come up with 3 or 4 other comms channels that died since I started in this world 25 years ago in cybersecurity. Tweeting is going to die, and it's likely dead for cybersecurity, and we're going to move somewhere else. I just may not ever move anywhere else and say the hell with it. I'm tired of chasing it.
This job I have now at the company I'm working for now was probably the first job in over 10 years that didn't come from Twitter, from me knowing people on Twitter, from conversations on Twitter. So really is an end of an era for me too. Twitter was not my resume, but like that's how I built out my network, and
I think
how a lot of people know me.
Yeah, I think a lot of that for me anyways has moved to LinkedIn now. LinkedIn's kind of become the work version of what Twitter used to be. But sure, I miss the make a comment, get 9 trolling, snarky, funny responses and 1 useful one pattern too. So
yeah.
So are we saying that Twitter is going away and it's effectively getting X'd out?
Heyo.
Thanks, I'll let myself out.
I don't know. I mean, we can.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see where that was going.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. That was well played. But I mean, we can make commentary about the stupidity that is, Elon Musk in taking a brand that has hit verb status and changing it. You never, like, the dream is to get your brand a verb mode, right? Tissue. Can I please have that tissue? That's a brand, right? Kleenex. Can I have the Kleenex?
Right.
Tweet is a verb.
And just
there's a bunch of brands
tossed it out overnight. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you can't. And he's just like,
with the most.
So what are we going to say now?
With the most generic looking thing ever. Like, I can't even find it when I look through my tabs now. Like, I just look right past the X. Yeah.
Like, every celebrity on the planet was tweeting. Why are you running away from that brand? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's insane. So three more things, including the squirrel story I wanted to cover here. So regulations, I think everybody at this point has probably seen that the SEC released their final rule on the reporting timeline, the 4-day reporting timeline. So you can now download and read all 186 pages of that. And there's a lot more than just a reporting timeline. There's some other required reporting that's in there as well. So it's worth digging through a bit. I would recommend not reading the 186 pages and instead looking for other people who have summarized it.
Yes, I definitely want the TLDR Cliff Notes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about this is it's been a long time coming. We knew it was coming. The 4-day reporting timeline, let's not get into this given how long we've been talking about the news, because I could talk about it for an hour. Yeah. What's good, what's bad, what should be thrown in the dumpster fire that is also Twitter or X or whatever it is. But there are going to be a whole lot of nuances to this, right? Like, you don't have to have technical details of incidents included in that. That's problematic. Yeah. That's like A1 problematic, right? You have to disclose an incident in air quotes, but after 4 days...
Something happened.
Yeah, something happened. We can't tell you what, because we don't actually know what. We're still talking with the FBI. But this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. There are just so many regulations and requirements and industry recommendations coming at us all to, again, in air quotes, solve the problem of security, because more regulations totally going to do that. This is an interesting one. I think their heart is in the right place. I think it's going to backfire in a lot of situations for a lot of companies and a lot of people, and it probably is going to result in some CISOs getting fired. Just to circle back to our first interview.
Well, one of the interesting things about this is, as Adrian has highlighted or notated in this show notes, is that it says companies must also disclose cybersecurity risk management strategy and governance in annual filings. And I think that's probably one of the most important parts of this. Isn't just, when you're a breach or when you have an incident, you've got to disclose it within a certain amount of time. It's really, what is your risk management strategy and how are you actually planning on protecting your environment, which gives
Did we just lose Sean?
Looks like you froze.
That was the most important thing he said all day.
You froze for the last 10 seconds or so, Sean.
No, I blame the kids and the internet. I was saying that companies must disclose cybersecurity risk management strategy and governance in annual filings. And then on top of that, this is the thing that investors will be able to look at, but also looking to make sure there's a plan. What is the plan? How are they protecting? What are they doing in the environment? I think that's even more important than the incident release or notification.
Can the strategy be a bat? Your breach avoidance technology?
It should be. It should be if they're doing a good job. I've got my bat right here. So if I points to any company that lists the breach avoidance technology in their annual filing,
that'd be a great Easter egg to find.
It's going to be a thing. I promise you.
In a 10K somewhere.
Right.
That'd be great. Yeah, just checking to see if anybody's reading these. So second to last year, the Sphere in Las Vegas. I don't know how I misspelled that there. I assume it was me that misspelled Las Vegas Sphere. But I emailed them.
There was a movie called Las Vegas, actually.
What's that?
There was a movie called Las Vegas. It was about 4 old guys going to Las Vegas for their last hurrah or something.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
That's definitely not what I intended there. I'm fixing it now. But
Adrian, what do we think? Is the Sphere going to get popped? Do we even want to talk about what the Sphere is?
Yeah, so the Las Vegas Sphere is this giant, and you can get seats to it for the F1 race. But they might be gone. There might still be some seats there. So you would actually be inside the circuit if you get seats in this thing. So it's a venue that's entirely covered in screens, both on the inside and out. So if you're inside this thing, imagine being in at least half of a sphere where everything is a screen. You look up, you look to your left, you look to your right, you look behind you. Everything is you're inside a ball that's made up of screens, and then the outside is also screens. So it lots of pictures and demos of it online of it actually functioning, and it does look kind of amazing. I'm sure it's a bit of an eyesore for people who have to look at it every day. But as far as I can tell, I couldn't find any vulnerability disclosure program, no bug bounty, and with Defcon descending in a couple of weeks, everybody is talking about like what's the likelihood this thing is going to get hacked, and that's actually number 19, I think, is the survey results from X, X social network. 76.5% say yes, it will get hacked during DEF CON, and I shudder to think the images somebody might post on that screen-covered sphere.
Just to give you the idea, this sucker's 366 feet tall and 516 feet wide, and has 1.2 million hockey puck-sized LEDs that can be programmed to flash dynamic imagery on a massive scale. It was fully illuminated for the first time right around the 4th of July. And U2 will use it as will be the first first event held in it, will be a massive U2 concert. This thing is absolutely crazy. If it gets hacked, oh my gosh, that is like the most crazy cool hack I've ever seen. And I've been going to DEF CON since DEF CON 6, so I've seen, you name it, I've seen every single thing along the strip hacked at some point, driving in or out of DEF CON over the last 20 years. And I hope like hell this thing gets popped. It'll be amazing.
Somebody wants that cred, that street cred of being the first. I'm not sure I want to see what they do with it if they do manage to pull it off.
I just hope they're hyper creative and do something super interesting to make it worth the while, worth the risk.
And not something worthy of eye bleach or brain bleach or something like that.
No, and definitely no blue screen of death. Don't put a blue screen of death on it, please.
I'm not going to say who or what year, but I did once, when I was doing content for Infosec World, have a speaker tell me that they hacked the wristbands that you get when you're at Disney to get themselves and their friends, colleagues, family into the park without buying tickets. So
look at that.
even at more tame conferences this stuff happens. I can't validate or verify if that actually happens. I'm just passing along what I was told. That person could have been drunk for all I know. But
you know what?
certainly,
You know what would be an absolutely brilliant marketing play? Instead of spending how many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to have your logo on an F1 car, put it on the dome. Put it on that sphere for Black Hat and Defcon. You know you're going to be in every single trade rag article as being the first cybersecurity company on the dome. Do something interesting on the dome.
You're probably going to get arrested too, though.
No, I'm not talking about hacking it. I'm talking about like actually paying for it instead of paying for the F1 car logo.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was still in the
Yeah, like CrowdStrike.
I'm sure.
How much does CrowdStrike pay to be on an F1 car?
Right. I can't imagine somebody's not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they pay those stupid cars to drive around the city. You know, the cars where the back of the car is basically just a giant digital billboard. So of course they're going to try and advertise on it.
Yep. Whoever picks that up for this Defcon and Black Hat's going to do real well.
So our last post here, our squirrel story, it just seems like a bit of irony. You know, the one of the groups, I don't want to make this a blanket statement, but one of the groups that tends to ask for backdoors and things just found out there's a deliberate backdoor in police radio encryption algorithm. So it's just I don't know. It seemed like a bit of irony to me that I don't think it's in any one vendor's implementation. It's in the actual protocol.
Yeah, it's in the standard, the Tetra standard.
Yeah, many different manufacturers make for like the in-car radios, right?
Yeah, this is typically used by radios by Motorola, DAM, Hytera, and others. The standard has been used in radios since the 90s, but the flaws remained unknown because encryption algorithms used in the Tetra system, which is the standard, were kept secret until now. So now that we got our hands on the actual encryption algorithms, we ripped them apart and we're able to find intentional backdoors, which also I think is a positive affirmation for open sourcing things and having vulnerability. People look for vulnerabilities, right? They found one. Now they're going to be able to hopefully remediate it. I mean, I don't know what the cost is going to be to fix all these radios, physical handheld radios. Yeah. That's a whole other problem. But hey, at least we know that the encryption doesn't work.
Yeah, so the researchers are going to present it at Black Hat. So if you want to see that presentation, that will be, I didn't see who the researchers were or if they even mentioned who the researchers were, but yeah, Black Hat, they're gonna talk about their findings.
Caleb Mathis, a consultant with Ampere Industrial Security.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I think. I don't know if they're the ones that found it originally or did some work with Wired to uncover more information, but they're mentioned here.
Right. I don't think those are the researchers. Oh, no, it says... here
we go. Midnight Blue.
Yeah, a trio of folks who work for, I assume that's a consulting company in the Netherlands?
Yep, in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a boutique security consultancy. Yep. Midnight Blue. Okay.
And there we go. We got the squirrel imagery and everything to go with it.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Yeah, I'm going to be missing Defcon and Black Hat. Any of you guys going?
I will be there.
I will definitely be there. I'll be there for Black Hat and Defcon.
Yeah, Sean and I are going to be drinking together. We're going to find a local pub and have a seat.
Not you, Katie?
I'm making the excuse that I have a wedding to plan, 4 weeks from. Yeah. It's a great excuse not to go to Vegas in August.
50% of us will be there.
Absolutely. And if anyone in the audience is going, go to trimarksecurity.com, sign up for our meetup that we'll be having there. I'll be hanging out with some of the Trimark folks, and we'll just hang out and chat and talk all sorts of things, security and squirrel.
Yes.
Yeah, Trimark Security.
If I was going, I would definitely want to go to that meetup.
Trimarksecurity.com/Vegas-show is where you can go. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I'll miss getting to see a bunch of people. I get asked at least 3, 4, 5 times a day if I'm going, and people wanting to meet up in person there, but not in the cards for me this time.
That's all right.
Thanks so much.
Summer camp is always an adventure, right?
It is. And we've got a few more shows until then. Security Weekly will be there doing interviews. So we'll, just like RSA, we'll have some content that will be, diverting from the normal show. We'll still do, I think, a news segment every week. But we'll have some of those micro interviews from the show to broadcast around and after the event. So keep an eye out for those. But still a few more normal Security Weeklies before then. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me today. Katie, Sean, and Tyler. Big thanks to everyone watching or listening to this week's episode of Enterprise Security Weekly. We will see you next week.